Common sense isn't gone. It just needs a comeback. Common Sense Superheroes with David and Greg.
What's up? Episode 37, Greg. And again, I keep wanting to look up and I can't think of a 37. Why am I lost on a 37?
I have what may be the most abstract 37 I will ever come up with on this show, but there was a Georgia Bulldog fullback / linebacker I remember by the name of Jamario Smith. Not sure he ever saw the field or even had a meaningful snap in practice, but I am fairly confident he was in fact number 37.
A. Smith. I love that fact. Greg is full of Bulldog knowledge, and that leads us to a little bit of a rebranding for Beliefs, Ballots, and Bets, now going by Beliefs, Ballots, and Bulldogs. Have you noticed over the past, Greg knows some obscure Bulldog type history, so he's doing a little bit of a rebranding, Greg. You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I mean, you know the backstory. I mean, the truth is, I honestly haven't gambled since returning or shortly after returning home from Vegas back in early February.
He lost so much that he had to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I do have a very addictive personality. Gambling has always been, if not the top, probably the number one addiction I've had. And at various times in my life, I have taken breaks from it. I have tried to get away from it. And somewhere in February, I just decided, you know what, I don't want that to continue to be an identifying characteristic. I don't want to feel that sense of anxiety of having to get my bets in every day by a certain time. And truthfully, you and I touched on it. If I'm going to make the primary premise of my daily podcast about scriptural stuff and faith-based content and things of that nature, it just rings a little hollow to add the gambling piece of it. And it is, I don't argue that gambling is a sin. It is a sin that I've always struggled with. Currently not struggling with it, but I think it was time to come clean and just realize that, hey, I wanted to use the gambling thing as a hook because I know how addictive it is. And I know that if you can put out some winners on tape, people will find you and will start to follow. And so that was my hope, thinking that all along, maybe I could use the gambling to draw in some people who otherwise wouldn't listen to a Bible study podcast. But, a month or so into this, it doesn't feel right. I've actually had a little bit of success. We've been on a couple of pretty good runs. We're going out a little bit on top. We were in plus money when I made my last plays, but no, it's just not part of my life right now. And so I'm gonna focus on the things that are a little more true. And I think I can reliably come up with a little Bulldog content on the regular.
I think he can, and I know somebody's excited. I know the wifey's excited. She's probably ready for you to get out of the betting field. In fact, she sent me this message when she told me you were changing it. She's just all she had. Just cheers. Just cheers is all it was. She was super stoked that you won't be gambling no more. And I said, listen, he said he's not going to be naming it. Beliefs, Ballots, and Bets. He didn't say anything about gambling. He didn't say he was stopping. So just keep a lookout, Haley. Keep a lookout.
I can honestly say that at this point in my life, since I was probably 19 or 20 years old, I am officially on the absolute longest streak of number of days without placing a wager.
Look at that.
It's been a good 3 or 4 months since I've placed a wager. And little known fact, but I'll put it out there just for posterity and maybe a little bit of accountability. I actually, and this may be one of the first in history, I had my last drink on my wife's birthday in the middle of the Mexico all-inclusive resort trip and hadn't had a drink since April 15th either.
Man, well, that's fantastic. And I haven't had a drink either since, what year is it? Just kidding. That's a joke. It was yesterday. Had a garage beer, by the way. Those are delicious. I'm like, if you name it garage beer, while I'm in the garage having a beer, hard to beat. That's all I'm saying. They're good stuff. You got to give it. I think it's the Kelsey brothers. And I will say it tastes like just beer. There's nothing fancy. There's nothing to it. It's just beer.
I have the last month and a half has revealed some things that I kind of always felt them to be true. And I think there's different ways to get addicted to things. And I don't know that I was ever like chemically addicted to the alcohol. I was very much addicted to the habit of drinking and the activity of drinking, and it's something to do. It goes well with a lot of the other habits like golf and gambling and things like that.
Mhm, mhm.
It has I have honestly for a month and a half now, I have not had any real desire to drink, but I can tell you as someone who just got back from a beach trip, man, sober and not a drink in your hand for hours upon hours on a beach is a boring existence. I was just sitting around going, I can only drink so many energy drinks or bottles of water. Like but I just and that's where I think that's where the challenge is gonna really reveal itself is in those activities that drinking was always a part of.
Yeah.
Now you're just sitting there and we've been to a couple parties and it's weird seeing everybody around you with a drink in their hand and you just kind of sit there twiddling your thumbs. So I'm having to adjust to the social dynamics of not being a drinker. But as far as the alcohol itself, don't miss it at all.
Idle hands love the devil, and when I'm sitting around doing nothing and we don't have any kind of baseball or anything, which is somewhat rare, I just sitting there in the garage just having a beer or 2. Now, thankfully, as addictive a personality as I have, I can have 1 or 2 and call it a day, and it doesn't even do anything. I'll stay away from them Cutwaters. Cutwaters, 1 or 2 of those, and I'm sleeping, okay? But 1 or 2 beers in the garage, and I'm fine. It's just feel like something I should do as a dad. But it thankfully, I don't have that personality where I have to keep going and keep going. But it is hard when, like you said, on the beach and beer just kind of go together, or at high noon at this point. Those go
Well,
well.
and at the risk of sharing more than anybody cares to hear, I just being transparent, as I had gotten older, I was never a 2 or 3 drink and call it a day kinda guy. Like, typically, once I start drinking, I don't stop drinking until it's time to go to bed. Well, as you get older, you start day drinking more and you start the process a little bit early. And son of a gun, when you go start drinking at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning on a beach trip or whatever, I got to the point, honestly, if I'm being transparent, about 7 or 8 o'clock that night, I was ready to stop and I was ready to just have dinner and go lay down and call it a night. But the people I hang out with all want to stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And I'm going, man, I just can't get down with this anymore. And it was honestly, it was being put in that position. Cause again, if you've been drinking for 5 or 6 hours and everybody around you wants to keep drinking, you know what you do? You keep drinking with them.
Yeah, and
And
that's
I
where
just,
the
I just don't,
trouble
I just
lies.
don't want to be in that position. And so, I don't judge anybody, man. Again, there's still part of me that has more than a healthy respect for alcohol as a social lubricant. I can make the case that for some people, it is actually a beneficial thing for them to do. I just realized that the stage I'm at in life, it hasn't even been fun to drink the last few years. And it has become more of like a chore. It's become something I felt obligated to do in certain situations. And I'm just not going to do it anymore.
Hallelujah. I will occasionally have a beer still, but thankfully it's not though 5 or 6 hours. But like our friend Tyler said, Coach Tyler, he says, "Listen, you can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning." So he knows what he's talking about. But and he says all that, but yet when he comes over, I'm like, "Hey man, you want a beer?" He's like, "No, I'm good. I'm good." He don't have hardly ever drink. He just talks a big game. But well, Leafs, Ballots, and Bulldogs. Go check it out. It should be under the same link that hopefully you've already subscribed to. You'll be getting those. And you've learned from just listening to this show that Greg knows his Bulldog history and what's going on currently. And speaking of that, that takes us to college baseball. And Bulldogs made some noise last night or yesterday. One particular man, Mr. Trey Phillips, made quite the noise by hitting a bomb out of the park and turned to Liberty, their sideline, and but he's saying it was more to his kinfolks in the stands, which they were above the dugout, so I get that, but I think he was digging a little bit at the old opposing team, and he did ended up getting tossed, as did the coach, and he is out for 1 game coming up this next series. But Greg, did you watch a little bit of the old Georgia game?
I was previously occupied, but I was keeping up with it on my phone, and I have seen the various replays of the highlight. And look at the risk of talking out of both sides of my mouth, but again, that's kind of what we do sometimes. I'm a diehard Georgia fan, so obviously I'm coming at this from a particular perspective. In the grand scheme of things, as a soon-to-be 48-year-old man who grew up playing baseball, in that moment, like eighth or ninth inning, that celebration might have been warranted. Sixth inning, you're up by a run. it was a little too much. Now, having
Game
said
winner,
that,
maybe, but
yeah, having said that, the celebration was too much for the moment. I have with the resources I am capable of putting together, I have confirmed his family was in fact sitting behind the dugout. That is who it's believable to say that's who he was gesturing to. That's who he was trying to fire up
yeah.
and get into it. Too much of a reaction, but it is not something that warrants getting tossed and to be not eligible for the next game. That is an overreaction by the umpire in all cases. And how in the world we have anything in the year 2026 that cannot be appealed makes absolutely no damn
It
sense at
is
all.
odd because I was listening to that this morning. They were saying that there's no appeal process, so he pretty much just has to be like, "Hey, you're out." I'm like, "What if they make I mess?" Obviously, the ABS and the challenges have shown you they made several mistakes throughout every single game. So this could have been easily a mistake that could have been rectified. Maybe they have camera angles that I don't know about, where maybe he's
Well,
grabbing his groin or something. But
just from a logistical, setup area, like you have to you have to have a system in place to where in this element something like that has to be appealable if an umpire has the ability to just throw somebody out of the game, and then that there also makes them miss the next game. I mean, targeting calls in college football, you have to miss the next half. Well, that's reviewable now. Like it's look, I watched the replay. It certainly, and again, Georgia bias here, it certainly appeared like that umpire was just waiting to get involved and looking for some way to be a part of the show. I will 100% say in a black and white scenario, it was too much of a celebration. It was an overreaction, but Trey's overreaction to me wasn't as bad as the umpire's overreaction and throwing him out and costing him the next game.
you are 100% correct, though, in the fact that, bro, come on, man. I mean, yes, you hit it good, but it wasn't worth that celebration at that point in the game. Had this been the, you know, last inning and you hit it to go ahead or something like that, or if it took the lead up like a grand slam or something, maybe I get it. At that point, you're getting hype. It wins the game. But in this scenario, the game wasn't over yet. You almost would have looked stupid had they came back. Now they didn't, but
I
still,
I know, but and again, we're the old men yelling at the clouds and screaming
true.
at the kids to get off our lawn. But this is just another one of those things, David. I don't know how we put this genie back in the bottle. The celebration, the look at me, histrionics, all of this stuff has just gone so far that again, it's if I'd have seen Trey Phelps do what Trey Phelps did 15 years ago, I
Phelps.
would
I
have
think I
gone,
said
"What are
Phillips.
you
That's
thinking?
Phelps.
You
Yeah.
need to throw his butt out." But in today's world and in today's game, you see that level stuff all the time. And again, that's the underlying problem. That you can make it about his reaction, which was too much. You can certainly make it about the umpire, who I think made a terrible judgment call. But the bigger issue is why we end up there, and it's because society embraces and empowers stuff like that. Look, as much as it sucks as a Georgia fan that he's going to miss the next game, how many times have you seen Trey Phelps on SportsCenter in the last 12 hours?
Hey,
And how
let's
many times had you seen him in the last 12 months? Not a one.
exactly. Yep. That's what makes Sports Center. We all say, well, we have that da 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 moment, and he just had his, and he might be worth it for him. They go out and crap the bed against Mississippi State on game one and get behind the eight ball. It might be a little different view of how he's looked upon. But you said it is Phelps. I said Phillips for some reason. Phillips just sounds better. But Phelps, I should know because I have a kid family that I love called the Phelps. But not and ironically Michael Phelps, but not that Michael Phelps, a different one. But yeah, that was quite a game. And I was watching once I saw that one get out of hand, we started watching Georgia Tech and Oklahoma because the boy pitching for Georgia Tech was the Thomaston Tank, old Blakely, a kid out of Thomaston. So I'm like, you know what? Let's take old Tech a gander. They've been showing out all there. And they started out, I think it was 5-2 at one point. They were up. And then out of nowhere, Oklahoma just started. There ain't no love in Oklahoma, son, because they were just blasting left and right at one point. Had a grand slam, 3 home runs in one inning. Ended up coming back and smoking Georgia Tech. So they're a little behind the 8 ball. They play tonight, see if they can get a W out. But did you watch? I know you didn't, but did you watch any of that game, Greg?
Again, I was keeping up with it on my phone, caught some highlights, and I just need to take a moment, David. You've heard me say this probably 100 times in our 2.5 decade friendship, but I don't care what sport it is. I don't care what season it is. Any day the Bulldogs win and the Yellow Jackets lose, that's a damn fine day in America.
As a recovering tech fan, I like to keep up with him so often, and I really just watched because the kid from my hometown of old T-Town, old Thomason, so I wanted to make he did good, and he did good. By the way, Thomason Tank's right. That is a big beastly dude for a pitcher. My man's jacked, but I kept up with it. I wanted to see it, and look, your home park. You're the away team, even though it's your home park, your head football coach is there, everybody's hyped, everybody's got their GT, the Ramblin' Rex going crazy, and then you just bullpen just destroys you. That's awful. I hated it. I hated it for him, Greg. I know you didn't, but I did.
No, I can't even pretend to hate anything bad happening to that lovely institution. But I was thinking about it, and this is kind of a random thing. I have always said that I think home field or home court advantage in baseball is probably the least substantial of the major sports. But I'm gonna tell you now that I've started watching a little bit more college baseball, and especially when you get the TV environment, man, it can get pretty electric in some of those small little quaint stadiums. And
Yeah.
I still think I'm right. I still think obviously home court or home field in football or basketball can really be a defining factor. But I guess I'd never played baseball at a level to feel the crowd or really feel the emotion of that moment. Like,
Yeah.
even in some pressure situations, I'd look around and there may be 40 or 50 people watching in high school. But, to have that sort of, I could see getting a little more dialed in, maybe a little more focused at
More
on the
hyped.
mound or at the plate in a crucial moment
I could
with
see
that
hitting
kind of
one
crowd.
out
But
and turning to the opposing dugout and bowing up, kinda like our boy Phelps did, Trey Phelps, but, it does have obviously, the batting last has the big advantage. That's what you want the home team for, but it will make a difference in the with the fans that come out and things like that. And while we're at it, we continue the old baseball train. The Braves, they must be it's gotta feel good because much like the Yankees or the Red Sox or somebody like that, every time you go to another park outside of probably the Yankees or Red Sox or maybe the Cubs, you have so many Braves fans. And if I watched the game Friday night, I believe it was when the Braves were taking on Cincinnati, and Iglesias came out there and got down to final out. Half the damn stadium stood up was hyped for the Braves traveling well, or either because of TBS. There's a lot of fans, but there was a lot of Bravo fans in the in Great American Ballpark.
I think some of it is the lingering effects from TBS and the whole America's team thing, where so many people in other markets got to watch the Braves. But I think too, and again, I'm a homer. Like, check the hat. Like, I'm not
I
hiding
see
it.
him repping.
But I think you also got to and think about this across the major sports again. In the professional sports arena, I don't know any team that has been at the competitive level the Braves have for as long as they have that's less hated than the Braves are. Like, nobody hates the Braves. Like, you think about all the other great teams, the dynasty type teams, somebody hates them. Like, another team, like, nobody really hates the Braves. And I just think it's a testament to we're just nicer down here in the South. So when we travel well, we're polite, we're kind. But I think part of it too is a healthy respect for the Braves as a professional franchise, just how they've been run for the last 2.5, 3 decades.
For the most
There's
part, done
really
it the right
nothing.
way.
There's nothing to not like. They're not out there overspending like the Dodgers and Yankees and just trying to buy a team. They don't have a bunch of prima donnas that are easy to hate and stuff like that. I think I said they travel well. I think part of it is just a Southern hospitality on the road thing and things like that. But I think it's a testament to how well the organization is run and how well it's portrayed and viewed by the public. Because again, nobody seems to hate the Braves.
A lot of their guys come up from the farm system and come up homegrown, so to speak. And that does make a difference because it doesn't look like you're going out and buying somebody. If they bring somebody in, it's Hassan Kim who ain't doing jack squat for us. Turns out not every Asian's good at baseball, at least not hitting wise. That's for damn sure. We
Good
thought
at math.
we saw Otani and was like, oh, here we go. Well, if he can calculate his batting average, I can do that because it's not very high. It don't take much. I can get to about 180, 189. All right. So, it's he is struggling. They ended up switching him out with
I just got a
the
great show idea. We're going to give David a 5-minute math test on one
oh,
show.
man,
We're going to
5
see
minute
if he's full of shit or not.
5-minute math test will be a 45-minute show. That ought to tell you all you need to know. But the Braves, they have some homegrown talent. Even Matt Olson, even though we brought him in, he's a home guy. And, Acuna came up that way. Harris came up from with us, Albies, so we have a lot of guys that came up, and it does make a difference. You see Philadelphia or the Dodgers in case in point where they just spend money left and right. Are the Yankees notorious for just opening up the pocketbook and buying their team? So that I could see why they're hated. But the Braves are not hated, and they're also on fire. They are lighting it up, son. And Acuna finally looks as if he might be the Ronald Acuna that we're familiar with, blasting a few home runs over the weekend, had a couple stolen bases, played pretty good, had not a great defensive play the other day, but Acuna finally starting to light it up, Greg. Did you see his jack about 4:30 on about the fifth pitch of the other game Saturday?
I did. I caught some of that, and again caught all the highlights over the weekend. You know, he is he's just one of the most fun players in the game to watch. He's one of those, and again in baseball, I don't think you have a lot of must see baseball players. He's near that list. I don't know. Again, I don't know anybody other than maybe Shohei or Aaron Judge right now that I would say, look, I will go to the park just because I want to see that guy in person. Acuna's up there. He's in that next tier of, he's a guy who's capable of doing something you just know, I might not see
When
this
he's on.
again. So, and it's good to see him get hot. You know, we all knew it was gonna happen. But man, we talked about it. I just got a alert on my phone that the Braves have never been the hated team, but I just got word that the Tigers are really pushing to trade Tarek Skubal, and I bet you if the Braves land him,
Mm,
they'd be hated.
I would take that in a second. I don't
Can
know
you
what
imagine on
we
back-to-back
can
nights
give
having to
up.
face Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal?
Do they want Hassam Kim? We'll pack them right now. I will help them pack.
Hadn't heard the Profar name mentioned in the
Well,
trades.
and they don't want him. They're gonna take somebody off our hands. We're gonna have to give up some of our bullpen or one of our starters, and that I hate to do. But for Tark Skubal, a healthy Tark Skubal, come on, son, going
I
into the
mean
playoffs, I'll take that.
I mean,
Strider, even though Strider only gives up home runs, he doesn't give up a lot of hits, but when he does, they all home runs as long as he can keep them to solos. But Strider, Sale, Scooble, man, Triple S,
hey,
Triple
I
S
think
coming at you. Come on, son.
I think Spencer will figure that out. I think he reminds me of a lot of young power pitchers. Every now and then you're so used to throwing it by people that you kind of leave one up in the zone over the middle of the plate when you used to could get away with it. He'll figure that out in the next coming years. But yeah, man, can you imagine? I mean, look, I was pretty confident digging in the box. I never was afraid of many pitchers, but man, I would not be looking forward to 3 nights in a row of Strider, Sale, and Scooble. There'd be some bad swings made in that threesome.
Especially like for lefties when against Sale, you have no chance. I don't even know how you even get close to hitting it. It's just nuts. Braves are hot. Harris is hot. Riley's got hot for a second, starting to cool. But everybody else is just playing ball, man. We took 2 or 3 from Cincinnati. Um, Bats went quiet a little bit on Sunday. Yeah. Saturday, they was quiet for quite a while, but they ended up coming back. But I'm excited, man. If we can get an Acuna on fire, he needs something to excite me because I'll be honest, I was getting a little pissed. I was getting a little like, okay, let's trade bait this fella. But when he comes back and he's on, he's like you said, he's one of the best in the league, one of the most exciting, dynamic players around.
Yeah, and we've touched on it briefly. We've mentioned this that Austin Riley seems to always have one of those streaks where for 3 or 4 weeks he just kind of carries the team, and you look at it, the Braves are in a what I think is a fairly unique position because they really do have 4 to 5 players on that lineup that can get that kind of hot
Mhm.
where. Over the course of a weekend series or something, they can get you 7 or 8 RBIs and a couple of runs scored just in a 3 or 4 game stretch.
Yeah.
Between Olson, Riley, Acuna, and then you throw in when Harris gets hot, Ozzy can get hot. I mean, it's a deep lineup. Drake Baldwin. I mean, throw in the pitching. If the pitching can stay consistent, like everybody, and I'm in there too. Everybody's giving the Dodgers the pennant and giving them the National League title. I think the Bravos are going to have something to say before all's said and done about this.
Bernardo Lopez has been throwing good out of the pen, and so he possibly could come back and get another start, get another chance at starter. We'll have 6 starters. Swellenbach can't be far from coming back. So listen, things can happen. We could really have a embarrassment of riches when it comes to pitchers, but I think that is what we're going to use as trade bait in order to pick some up. I know Anthopoulos talked about he's got his eye on the trade deadline, and he's mentioned like as if he's going to make a move. What that move will be, like last year, we kept waiting for that big splash, never happened. This year we might have that splash. And the Scooble, even though it'll be a rental job, it'll be a 1-year rental or a rest of the year rental. It would be fun to see.
I won't let myself get caught up in expecting anything like a Tark Scooble type landing,
No, I
but
can't
I
either.
got a feeling that if Double A doesn't pull something off this year, like last year, we were looking for him to do something just as a catalyst to try to kickstart something and turn it around. This year, you got to look at it and go, hey, brother, we got a legit shot to
Don't mess
compete.
it up.
If there's a hole or if you can add a piece to this team that gives us a better shot, you got to make the move. And man, you're right. We got a lot of young pieces, and I think as part of what makes people respect and like the Braves is the fact that we raise so many guys up through the farm system. It's kind of a homegrown thing. If you get a chance right now to pull the trigger on a difference maker for the rest of the season, I think you got to be willing to let 2 or 3 of those young cats go and just deal with the repercussions down the road.
We're going without our hottest guy, which is Drake Baldwin. We don't even have Drake. You forget that we like one of the best guys out there right now hitting the ball is Drake Baldwin, and we didn't even had him in the last week or so. So get him back. Sean Murphy may be part of that trade bait. I think that could be a potential. Trump has shown out. Sandy Leon, sorry, bro, it ain't working. But Trump could probably stick around and be that second catcher to give Drake a break every now and then. But boy, the possibilities I'm excited for. The Braves have been on fire and has had a hot week or so. You know who has not had a hot week or so? That is one Donald J. Trump. President Trump has not had the best of weeks, 2 weeks, however you want to look at it, basically since the war started. But in the last couple of days, I don't know if you heard, Greg, the America 250 concert that's taking place has hit a bit of a snag, shall we say. The Freedom 250, the Great American State Fair, is what they made it as a concert. Had billed a lot of names to come out and perform in it. Which, by the way, if you look at the list of names, I'm like, this is America 250. We can't get bigger names than this. Even if I understand there's some political biases, but can't get Jason Aldean. Carrie Underwood even performed at inaugural. Let her do it. But have you heard of all the list of names that have backed out, Greg?
I have not heard the list. I can't imagine any of it being terribly surprising. This was one of the reasons why I was early on. I was actually a big proponent of the having the UFC event at the White House because I know that's a market that supports him and will turn out with a great show and a great performance. I mean, most of your performative artists are on the left. They are a little more on the liberal side. There's not a lot of Trump supporters from Hollywood or the music recording industry. So, I mean, I could see where this would be a little bit of a challenge, but no, go down the list. Who's told him no?
Of
Jackson
the
Dart would
list
say
that I
yes.
have that said no so far, who said yes, but now have turned out and said no, which to me makes you think, how did you not think? Because they have the same exact post saying why they're not performing because they don't want to make it political and all that. I'm like, you signed up to perform at America 250 with Trump, and you knew exactly what you was getting into. So it makes me think you're just trying to get your name out there. But Martina McBride also backed out. She was one of the first ones. I'm like,
Mid.
I'm not a big Martina fan. Okay, whatever. She backed out because she didn't want to she was told it wasn't going to be political, Greg. She didn't want to get into politics and all that. Well, you know what happens when you come out and make a big, bold statement about not wanting to get political and not wanting to be in politics? People have a little thing called history and a little social media from the past where they find out that you didn't seem to have a problem with it when you were performing for Obama or other in the past. Now, Obama's not Trump and he's not bombastic as much as Trump, but you know it's political when you perform in anything in the White House related. So that's hypocritical to come out and say now that you all of a sudden, I don't want to make it about politics. Okay, well, you did. So Martina McBride, Brett Michaels, that one kind of shocked me. I thought Brett was a little, I don't care. I'm not. It shocked me a little bit that he's still performing. I'm like, who wants to see Brett Michaels? How many times can we hear every rose has a storm, bro? That's all we got going for you. I think that's Brett Michaels. That's the only thing I could think of. Hell, but Poison. I mean, I can't lie. Poison had some good songs, but this is just Brett Michaels. He came out with almost verbatim the exact same note or message that Martina McBride said. So that tells me it was set up to be that way. Young MC, bust a move, baby. He said, nah, I'm not going to bust a move. Not for America 250. You need to bust a paycheck. I don't care where you performing, Young MC. You ain't getting it. People ain't knocking down your door. Morris Day and the Times, and the Commodores. Those are just a few of the ones that have pulled out. And this one shocked me, Greg, a little bit. I say that most of them shocked me. Milli Vanilli pulled out. We can't even get fake singers out there. We can't even get fake singers to come to the damn State Fair America 250. What have we come to?
Okay, consider me skeptical, but off of that list that you just reported to me that they have all turned it down, I'm just going to put it out there. I would like to see an official invitation from any of those people.
Well, funny you said it was not a turn down. This was agreed and then pulled out. I should turn down. This is a pulled out. So they were actually set up to perform. Somebody invited them, which makes the Trump statement on it even more weird because he came out and said all this third rate talent, you know, we're not even going to worry about it. I'm going to go out and do like a big rally. I'm going to go out there and be the GOAT, the greatest president ever. I'm going to come out and do a speech. I'm like, well, then why did you hire them? If they're such third rate, why did you hire them? Come on, Donald.
Well, I mean, please tell me that you're not one of those people that assumes he's doing everything like that he says he does. Like he's not
No.
making all these posts. He's not really the one invite. Like I gotta
think
imagine
he is
Donald-
involved in the post. I will say I do think he does the post.
if Donald
not
Trump
physically
even
type it,
knows
but
who
he says
Milli
it.
Vanilli is, I will be shocked. There's
You
no
know,
way he
that's
had a
his
part of.
heyday. That's his heyday. Now, well, to be fair, if you've never watched the Milli Vanilli documentary, I believe it's on Prime, go check it out. They kind of got railroaded. I kind of feel bad for them. Now, did they make some money off some other people singing? Yes. But one of them could actually sing, the one that's still living. The other one's dead. We don't even have him no more. Frederick or whoever, he gone. He killed himself, sadly. But the one that's left, they actually, the end of the documentary, had him come out and sing Blame It on the Rain. And dude could actually sing. I'm like, why the hell didn't you do it then?
That is that you look back and think that was back in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if social media had been
Maybe
around with
90s.
all that going on? Either way, point stand,
Yeah.
because that was such a weird ordeal that
Well-
everybody in the world knew about, and that was before social media could spread stuff.
It was so funny that they would sing, and they would sing Blame It on the Rain just as clear as day. Like, sounded great. Still a great song. It's a banger, son. Okay. It's a great one. And then they'd do an interview, and you're like, these guys can't even hardly speak English. They sound like worse than Joe Biden. They can't hardly talk. And we were like, yeah, but I guess when you sing, it sounds better. Well, how did we fall? Much like the Tiger King, when he claimed that he's out there singing them country music hits. I'm like, Joe, that ain't you, Joe. That ain't you, bro. We fell for it. I think we loved that song so much. They were ripped to the gills. Julie Brown's out there dancing around. We wanted to love it so much, but we knew. We all knew. Much like George Michael, we knew he wasn't straight. Come on, man.
Man, just dropping the Tiger King reference, just like that blindsided me, man. I didn't see
You
that.
seen-
I didn't see that one coming.
Did you hear his country music? Dude, it was
Yeah.
good. It was good songs.
But man, I just that slipped a left hook past the guard there. That
Oh,
would
I'm
call
off
me
that,
out. Go,
son.
what? How did we get to Tiger King on June 1st,
Slip the jab,
2026?
slip the jab, my friend.
Wowzers! All right, yeah.
But yeah,
That was-
Milli Vanilli, I was a big fan. The brothers that killed themselves, the Menendez brothers, they played like wasn't Girl You Know It's True, but he played like one of this Milli Vanilli's songs. I'm gonna miss you. Girl, I'm gonna miss you. Played that at the funeral of his mama. Bro, if you heard the words, that's very odd. Not only the fact that you killed your mama, but you played that song of all ones at the funeral. Very weird. Odd.
There are some strange folks out there amongst us, but I'm still want to get back to this. Who was in charge? Who supposedly was putting together this all-time 250th celebration, and that was the list.
There's no way we couldn't have got bigger names. And I understand he's political and all that, but come on, there's enough. Just get the same people that performed at the Turning Point. That'd be better than the list you got now. Shoot. And I'm a little upset with the UFC, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of names on there. I'm like, there's no John Jones. There's no Conor McGregor. There's not the big names that I want to see for a performance of fight taking place in front of the White House, on the White House lawn. I'm sorry, I need to see some big names. I don't care if it's fake people that can't even fight no more. Bring Brock Lesnar back. Something. Give me somebody to be excited about old Americana, but I ain't got nothing to get pumped on.
I kind of agree, but I'll take it a step further. And again, I said this on the one of the earlier episodes. I'm not a big UFC guy, but I do feel like to some degree, most of your big names and big draws in the UFC are a little past their prime.
Yeah.
So I think if you're, if you're
These
trying
may
to
be
put
better
on,
fights.
yeah, if you're trying to put on a good show with legit contenders and people who are absolutely competitive right now, yeah, you're right. But from a name perspective, yeah, a John Jones, Connor, like those guys would have been legendary. I think Connor would have been a good draw. That would have been a good match for DT. But I don't know, man. People saying I don't want to make it political is it's just such hypocrisy and such a BS way to get out of something. Because right now, 90% of what anybody says or does for public consumption is either political or racial. Like it's going one of those two directions. So to try to pretend like you're not going in one of those paths with anything you're doing publicly, I think you're just being fake and people can see right through it.
Do you know two of the top names that have stayed on and said they're performing no matter what because they love America? Can you name you got two that you can think of?
Uh,
Think about the list that turned it
I,
down.
well, I would hope Lee Greenwood would be somewhere around.
You know we're gonna hear Lee. He ain't even they don't even bring him up no more. I told my wife on the way here, I was like, I don't want to go out there and hear Lee Greenwood again. It's a great song, but my God, between 9/11 and Trump throwing him out there every time we turn around, I'm like, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the village people. But Lee Greenwood, great song, but I don't need to hear it again.
You always need to hear it. You can never get enough of that one. Who you got? Who's still on the list?
Yo, VIP. Let's kick it.
Van Winkle, huh?
Rob Van Winkle, Mr. One Vanilla Ice, Cool as Ice movie. I posted about that not long ago. One of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, but I love it. But Vanilla Ice is staying on. Respect. We'll be downloading some more Vanilla Ice. Respect for you, my friend. Rolling in his 5.0 on the performance. He said, I'm an American. I love America. I'm going to perform, damn it. And I respect the hell out of that.
You could make the argument, and I don't know that this will connect.
One of the biggest rap songs of all time. I don't care what you say.
Vanilla Ice, in a lot of ways, is the American dream. Like, because that dude, let's be real, that dude struck gold with one song that he may or may not have kind of stole the hook from Queen. We'll get into that later.
Well, listen, he was just ahead of the game when it comes to sampling because everybody and their grandma samples.
But here's the thing, dude, and this is the part nobody talks about. Vanilla Ice is still legit relevant. Like he still like actually exists and does things and is a productive
makes a whole lot more money than he ever had with rap and redoing houses and flipping houses.
He is
real estate tycoon.
For who we thought he was back then, I would have thought that dude by this time would have been long gone or completely irrelevant. So the fact that he has hung on and continued to progress as a human being and an individual, that is the American dream.
Even after
continue to evolve and adjust, and opportunities are there.
Even after Suge Knight held him off that cliff and made him sign over his rights to Death Row Records.
I mean, he is legit the face of Twisted Tea.
Is that him? I always thought that was him. It don't look like him, but I guess it is. But he is a real estate guy. He's big in that. So respect to Rob Van Winkle, Vanilla Ice. This one, I keep saying shocked me, but this one is I hope it stays. The free state of Florida is famous for one guy named Florida, hence where he got the name Florida. He's from Florida. So Florida is going to be staying and performing. So respect to that too. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of hate. But as of now, he's still sticking to his guns. He's going to perform. So respect.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't come to this, but again, I don't know where we go from here because things have just continued to get so divided, and you don't see any way to put the genie back in the bottle. You don't see anything really trying to bring the folks back together. I mean, Florida. I mean, let's be real. If everything now has to go down the political or the racial, I mean, I'm pretty sure Florida is an African American.
Last time I checked, I don't think he's changed it, but last time I checked,
so he doesn't have an issue with all of Trump's racism and all the stuff that we keep being told that he's this horrible racist that has been a racist for 40 years. Everybody knows he's a racist. So he doesn't, Florida doesn't care.
Apparently doesn't seem to care. Either he doesn't like black folks either, according to whatever people want to tell you. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's just like, you know what? It's America. I love America and I'm going to perform. I'll be damned. And continuing on the Trump having a bad week, the Trump Kennedy Performance Arts Center will be no more, Greg. They said they have 2 weeks to erase the name Trump off of this, even though Trump is the one that has plans to actually redo it and make it look back to its standard. One judge made it look as if he can't put his name on there. So there'll be no more Trump Kennedy Performance Arts Center, Greg. It's just going to go back to just old John F. Kennedy.
I think we've all recognized. I mean, the president of the United States has long since been the most powerful person in the world. Like, I think we all will readily admit that. And with such power comes, obviously, with great power comes great responsibility, but it also, with great power comes a lot of sometimes unwarranted and unwanted attention. But I can't recall in my 48-year lifetime any one individual who has just continuously had this much of the whole world just against anything and everything this person tries to do. And again, I hate to draw the parallel because I'm not in any way trying to compare Donald Trump to Jesus Christ. Nobody in their right mind would try to make that comparison.
Well, he did.
But I am saying, if you don't see some similarities in the fact that even when this guy is trying to do, and I'm not saying the Kennedy arts, I'm just making a general statement. It doesn't matter what this guy is doing, where he's coming from, what he's trying to accomplish. There's just 150 million people in this country that are just going to hate it and shit on it, regardless of what it is. I mean, I have jokingly said it. It is a completely hyperbolic statement, but it's not hard to imagine a Washington Post or New York Times headline of Trump ruins oncology forever because the son of a bitch cured cancer. And they're just going to make it about somebody. He ruined oncology profession. He's killing the economy because he cured cancer. It just doesn't matter whether it's the people backing out of the concert, the judges that are constantly trying to put nationwide injunctions on some little local thing he's doing anywhere. It is, and again, I know we say this every time we're coming up on an election. The midterms here in 2026 are going to be huge. We roll into 2028 elections. At some point, we're going to have to come to a breaking point where one side is just going to have to go, okay, if we lose here, we've got to readjust. Because the other side in particular, who just got their butts beat in 2024, lost in epic proportions that they've never lost before. They're not adjusting towards going back in the direction of normalcy or common sense. They're going harder in the other direction. You cannot continue to push division and hate and think you're going to be the side that unifies the country.
Remind me to get back to that a little bit, but I'll first about the comparisons to Trump and Jesus Christ. He actually did make that comparison, but he said he was a doctor in that picture. He was a doctor just laying hands, but that's funny. So to be fair, he kind of did make that comparison. Also, to be fair, I'm not big on you putting your name on something when you're still alive. I don't think a president should have his name on anything while they're still alive or while they're in office, especially. But something like this, when he put himself on that Performance Arts Center, which, again, he's the one that actually is taking care of this place and wanting to make the redo it to where it actually is a standard that can be set. Much like he's doing the fountains in Washington, D.C. that were all jacked up, that was tagged and didn't never work, and they said free guys on it. It was just spray paint all over the place. He got those clean to put out. The, what is it, in front of the Lincoln Memorial, that big pool, they redoing that for an exorbitant amount of cost. And
ask the folks in Washington, D.C. how much better the crime rate is around there.
They're walking around without being mugged every time you turn around. And so, yes, is he narcissist? For sure. Yeah. I don't like him like putting his face on a $250 bill. Like, all that is ridiculous to me. But if he needs to do all that, but yet he gets stuff done, small price to pay. I'm just saying.
You are correct that he is a narcissist, but I would make the argument that maybe I'll be concerned. Less than 10% of anyone holding public office is not a narcissist, and 0% of any
Yes.
presidents are not narcissists.
No. Well, my point is when you have a narcissist, much like when you have a woman who's high maintenance, yes, it's
I
high
don't know nothing
maintenance. You
about
gotta
that.
when it's high maintenance and you put up with a lot, but you know what you get? A hot woman. It has a good gift that comes with that, okay? If it
Worth it.
takes her a little longer to get ready, it's because it's worth it, okay? And if it takes him putting his name on something in order to make it where you can actually walk in with the air conditioning that works, then that's a small price to pay. He's doing a lot of stuff. He's gonna make the ballroom, whether if it comes to fruition, it's gonna be a great thing. It's gonna be beautiful. It may be more gold than you want, but it's gonna be better than what's in there. It's we always said you have to have somebody who just does not give a damn, that can go in and be like, "I don't care what you think. This needs to be done, therefore I'm gonna do it." And he's doing it. He's doing it with the war in Iran, which hopefully is coming to an end soon. They're in negotiations, possibly. You need somebody to be like, "Hey, nope, that's not right. We're not paying your fair share. You need to pay more. You're taking advantage of with tariffs, and we're gonna tariff you back." You gotta have somebody that does not give a damn. And he's getting this done. I don't like the way he's doing some of it, but he's getting it done.
Well, and I think, and this is I'm glad we actually ended up taking the conversation this way, because this was something I was kind of thinking about over the last couple of days. You and I've touched a little bit on, hey, what's going to happen on the other side when he's no longer a part of the picture on our side, like, because they have focused so much vitriol, so much attention, so much effort on dismantling anything and everything he says or does. Like, what happens when they can't keep attacking him as a political strategy? Because that's all the left strategy is just attack him. And I started thinking, if we're being honest, because of the timing of social media and all this stuff, he is the only conservative or Republican president we've dealt with in this modern era, really. Like Obama, like, because social media didn't really take off until probably in the Obama administration. I'm telling you right now, I think my prediction is 2028 is going to be a revealing time frame, because JD Vance is going to win the presidency, and they are going to come after him every bit as hard, if not worse, than they have Trump. And then those of us who have kind of been understanding go, hey, look, we love Trump, support him for what he does, but he's an arrogant asshole and we don't like his image. But when it's somebody like JD who's as polished as they come and they're still doing it the same, I think that's where the revolt likely happens, because then we're going, okay, it wasn't just Trump. These people are just that effing batshit crazy.
Well, he's clearly racist with a wife named Usha. He is. He doesn't like minorities, okay, Greg? So everybody knows that about JD. I like JD. I hope he does win. What else was I gonna get into? Oh, talking about the not learning from their mistakes. Dr. Jill Biden was on CBS Sunday morning. She's got a book out, and she came out and said, plain as day, I thought Joe Biden was having a stroke in that debate against Donald Trump. And I was like, welcome to the club. We all thought or knew the same thing, but the difference is she said, I have never seen him act like that before. And here's the kicker, or since. I'm like, well, clearly you don't have a TV or eyes or anything, because he was like that before. He was like that during. He was like that after. You talk to him now, same way. How can she get away with this?
Okay, 2 points. As to the claims that she's never saw that before or since, bullshit. We all know it's
Exactly.
bullshit. We've
Mhm.
seen the dude. Like, that dude's like his greatest nemesis as a president were gravity and steps. Like, that that dude was not okay. The bigger point, okay, call bullshit. Like, Jill Biden is full of it. We all know it. I was watching that debate like everybody else in the country was. And I was glued to it thinking this is one of the most crucial and defining moments possibly of our nation's history. But as important as that was, I'd like to think if my wife thought I was having a stroke, she would have interrupted the debate and said, hey, I need to go help my husband who's clearly
Yes.
not well. Look, it doesn't fly. And this is just the latest and the longest line of examples that you and I keep touching on. at some point, and I think you and I are kind of prime examples of, we try to have dialogue. We want to have honest, legitimate conversation with them to try to understand and to try to figure out how to get somewhere where we can meet in the middle on some things. But when you continuously have examples like this, where you just realize that the people on the other side are not even speaking in good faith, they're not even making attempts at the truth or honesty or anything. How do you keep the conversation going? Like that statement by Jill Biden is essentially a conversation ender, because we now know this woman's not in reality anymore, or she just doesn't care to tell the truth. Why continue talking to somebody like that?
The irony is, after the debate, she came out and said, Joe did great. He told the
You
truth.
answered
He
all
did
the questions,
fantastic.
Joe.
Answered all the questions. Yay. And what did Trump do? He lied. I'm like, well, you just lied. You clearly just lied, saying he did great. You know damn well he didn't do great. You thought he had a damn stroke. So stop calling everybody
You
liars if you're going to lie yourself. I understand politics. You got to come out there and make it look
you
good.
recently went
couldn't
to a
make that look
fifth
good.
grade graduation that had less meaningless celebratory bullshit
Yes.
than Jill than after that. Every and there again, that's just the one of those examples like where they are not in reality. Every one of us watched that debate, saw him almost die on stage, and then they came out and celebrated how well he did. And you're looking at it going, holy shit. And again, and let's not knock it. They still got damn near 70 million votes on their side.
All they did was say, they wasn't cheering great. Joe did great. They were like, he's not Trump. He's not Trump. Like you said, that's all they care about, as long as it's not Trump. But it was just funny. I loved it. That whole era is going to be studied for years to come. That just 24 election, just that's going to go down in history.
I mean,
Speaking of
you
going
know
down
what?
in history, go ahead.
No, let me finish because I got one here.
All right.
40 years from now, David, people are going to be talking about the 2020 election, BLM, and COVID. And they're just going to say, man, that terrible, terrible time. That's what brought us the common sense superheroes.
That's what they're going to say. You know what they're going to say? January 6th. That's a whole nother episode. But we'll end on this, Greg. You wanted to dive into this topic, and I did too, because I appreciated him coming out and saying something. I wish he would a little harder in the paint. But Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter. You want to tell everybody a little bit about that, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, from what I gathered, remotely viewing, I mean, Jackson Dart basically was given the opportunity to announce or introduce President Trump at an event, and he took advantage of that. As I would think most Americans prior to Donald Trump, if you had the chance to announce the President of the United States at any sort of event that you were a part, who wouldn't want to do that? All right, and again, I get Donald Trump is a politically charged president that draws a lot of ire and a lot of animosity. Well, shortly after, then one of his, and again, a very good player in his own right, Abdul Carter is a legit defensive specimen, came out and said, bro, what are we doing? I thought this was AI. You can defend it as if maybe he's kind of legitimately saying, but as everything, and this went so far beyond political of, okay, so maybe Jackson Dart is a Trump supporter and Abdul Carter voted for Kamala. Hey, great. We all vote for who we vote for. That's fine. I promise you, not everybody in any locker room in professional sports votes for the same people. But as with everything right now, because it was a white guy on one side and a black guy on the other side, everything about this whole little thing has become about race. Let me put this on the record. David, you as my witness, God as my witness as well. I am not a racist. But our society is making it real damn hard to stay that way right now because they are intentional.
He's not a racist, folks. Everybody clap. I could have played this.
You know what I'm saying, though. I mean, it's getting harder and harder because everything's binary. Everything forces you to choose a side, right, left, Democrat, Republican, black, white, whatever. And it's forced down our throats as a binary choice. And in this case, look, I voted for Donald Trump. I liked Ole Miss. I kind of am a Jackson Dart fan, so I'm on his side on this. But it's not because I don't like black people and Abdul Carter's black. It's got nothing to do with that. But when you constantly take that and anything somebody like me or you or Jackson Dart says or does, if you intentionally go out of your way to make it a race thing, it's going to become a race thing. And everything else is becoming a race thing too. And that's where we are. And look, you can look all over social media, and there are people making a living by doing nothing but race baiting, like just trying to engage
Don
in
Lemon.
race-based conversation. Don Lemon, Jamel Hill, Ryan Clark, there's a whole bunch of them.
Yep. Jackson Dart came out and gave some little. He didn't necessarily, apologize or anything like that. He actually stood his ground somewhat, but I wish it was more. I wish it was just like, yeah, I did. That ain't got nothing to do with what I do in the locker room. I still love and appreciate every guy in here, but yes, I went and introduced Donald Trump. Sorry, what do you want me to tell you? And it should have left it at that, but he kept going on and dragging, trying to be philosophical. I'm like, brother, just say it. And Abdul Carter came out and was like, no, we're good. I mean, I just hope that the favors returned when I say something or do something. I'm like, you already do. Everybody does. Everybody on that side does, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Yes, we tell LeBron to shut up and dribble. That somebody said that one time, but there's not a whole lot. Otherwise, you just go on and on about who you do. Steve Kerr and Steph Curry basically swing from Joe Biden's cojones. Nobody says a word. It's like, okay, that's it.
Well, you touched on it, and so if you want to go back, and again, I hate
it almost goes to religion because Abdul Carter is a Muslim.
Well, and that was the thing.
They try to make it a Muslim Christian thing. It's like,
I for one didn't care for
nothing about you.
I didn't care for the outfit he wore on draft night, if I'm being totally honest. But you know what? I didn't say anything. It wasn't just not my cup of tea. But he's entitled to have his own religion and believe what he wants to believe. Here's the thing, and our side has routinely done, well, what if their side did this, or the whataboutism and that pointing out the hypocrisy. I'm tired of pointing out the hypocrisy. It's time to start standing up to it. But you're right. Look, it started with the Colin Kaepernick BS. Kneeling during the national anthem is way more of an atrocious political statement than announcing the president at an event. Point blank, full stop. That is making a political statement, not announcing somebody at an event. The BLM shit, LeBron James, all the kneeling during the NBA games. No, nobody said a word about that. Jackson Dart literally just introduced the president at an event. That's it. And the whole world comes to an end. Dude, you and I've touched on it. And again, I just feel like this is, at some point, they keep ratcheting up the temperature. It's going to boil over because I don't see any way to put the genie back in the bottle, because at this point, they keep pushing and pushing until Jackson Dart stood his ground a little bit. But more and more, you're seeing folks who do believe what we believe starting to back down just a little bit less. We're still backing down, but we're backing down a lot less than we used to. And it's going to come to a point where we don't back down at all. And that's when they're going to revolt, because they're not going to know what to do when we stop giving in.
I think with 100% certainty, Colin Kaepernick would not have kneeled down had he not lost the starter job. Had he thought he still had a chance, he would not be kneeling down. I think a little bit of it was probably he wants to make a statement, but a lot of it is whiny little bitch is what he was, because he did not do that shit when he was playing his best football. All of a sudden, he has these morals that kick through. Muhammad Ali, I did not like what he did as far as draft dodging the Vietnam War, but that man was in his prime. That man was the big dog. That man was the top dog, and he stood by his beliefs. I may not agree with him, but he stood by his beliefs, and he paid the price in the prime of his career. Colin Kaepernick, there's a reason he didn't go for these tryouts. He didn't try to go play somewhere else. He's like, I'll play anyway. I don't care. If that was the case, somebody would have drafted your ass if you had a chance to play. You did not have a chance to play. You were not the same player. You were great. You were really good. Took him to the Super Bowl. A phenomenal player, but at the point in time when all that happened, you were not worth the distraction. Just like Tim Tebow wasn't worth the distraction for what he was. And I love Tim Tebow, but he was at the point where you couldn't bring him in because everybody wanted him to start, even if he was a third string quarterback. Colin Kaepernick was the same way. Why would somebody bring you on if they don't play you? All of a sudden, your whole team and everybody in ownership's racist because you're not playing, no matter who's in front of you.
Just that. I mean, let's be real. Colin Kaepernick was after two things, and he got both of them. He was after money and attention. This is the same guy who, on two or three separate occasions, has basically held hoax tryouts where he was going to go put on a display to try to get on with some team and saying, like you said, I'll play anywhere. I'll take a backup job. I just want to compete. Bullshit.
Liar.
You just wanted to get on camera. It was one of them where he showed up at a different location than the location he told the team.
Right down the road. He was coming to Flowery Branch to try out in this location, and I went, and they were like, there's a lot of protesters. So what did I do? I drove my happy ass over there. One guy with a sign, One guy with a sign there, and then he tried to move it down to some high school in Atlanta because he didn't want to come to. That was one guy with a sign. I saw it. I think I got a picture somewhere, and he wanted to move it to Atlanta. And then he was like, "Oh, well, I don't want to do it." Your ass didn't never want to play. You just wanted to make a statement. You wanted to whine and bitch because you wasn't playing anymore. That's exactly
And
what it was.
90 to 95% of the leftist media that made Colin Kaepernick a damn hero
Yep.
are bashing Jackson Dart.
hmm Funny how that works. Funny how that works.
Yeah, I'm just I look, the worst thing you have as somebody who is in any sort of performative art where you rely on other people to digest your product. You're starting to lose an audience, and the left is starting to lose an audience because at some point you just go, the shit they're saying is just not even real. Why do I even have this on my screen at this point? I mean, if I'm going to watch fiction, I'd rather watch, a real movie or something.
The View
But
was
it,
out
it
there telling us the statistics of black people in NFL after Jackson Dart went introduced the president of the United States, and all of a sudden we got to hear, well, he's in charge of. There's 65% of them are African American. Who gives about the stat? Who's making it a race issue? Why can't it just be there's a 53 New York Giants that play together? How about that shit? How about there's 53 players? That's what he worries about. I don't care what color they are. I never cared what my shortstop was, except for
yeah,
Hassan Kim. Take your Asian ass back.
I, I saw a particular clip from The View, and again, and I know they go crazy whenever Donald Trump sues anybody on libel and slander and all this stuff. But this is another one of those where Joy Behar legitimately said he has been a known racist for 40 plus years, starting with racial discrimination in his housing in New York City. And I'm going, that's a factual statement that I don't know you can prove as a factual statement. I believe that is illegal to say stuff like that on national TV, on broadcast television, to call somebody a known racist for 40 plus years.
Well, he's a
Like, how
known
do
rapist too, according to a lot of
yeah,
people.
I just, man, it's the scariest part to me is still just the amount of people who are ingesting this type of shit and don't realize how bad it is and how untrue it is. Because there's a large portion of our population that this is their news source. Like they get their current event updates from The View, and Lord help those people.
We're gonna have to get back into it on episode 38. This is episode 37 of Common Sense Superheroes. Appreciate you listening. Appreciate you checking us out. Make sure you go listen to Beliefs, Ballots, and Bulldogs with old Greg Miller over there. The man knows his stuff about all three. Go get a good word. Go get a little political news, possibly. I think you ain't really gone too political then that much. You've said
Now,
it goes with it, but it doesn't flow as
yeah,
well.
I'm gonna launch the rebrand today. I'm gonna record that this afternoon. I usually try to apply the scriptural stuff to kind of some common events, some social stuff
Mhm.
going on in the world. Pretty much the scriptural and the Bible study part is going to be a daily thing. 5 to 10 minutes max. The social and cultural events and the political stuff and anything dog related will kind of be spot in when there's something worth talking.
Well, that's it. Episode 37 in the books. Be sure to check out Greg's podcast later today when it comes out. Show him some love. Greg, as always, leave us with a good word, my friend.
All right, friends, we appreciate y'all listening. Anybody that's still hanging on an hour later this, y'all get in there and subscribe, like, share, make a comment, go harass David on social media, do something fun because, I mean, we entertain ourselves doing this and we'll do it with or without y'all, but it is more fun if y'all participate. So like, review, share, subscribe, do all those things. And as always, it's a crazy ass world. We all got to do our part to make it a little better. So get in your Bible, say your prayers, love one another, and tell the truth.
And
God
eat your
bless.
vitamins. Till next time, folks. Peace.
See you, brother.